These guys have got you covered.
Time to eat, fellas.
You're locked on to Jake Scott and Ben Anderson.
1, 2, 3, move it.
On 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Jake Scott, Ben Anderson. Happy Thursday to everybody out there, however you may be listening, streaming, watching at KSLSports.com or at YouTube. Maybe you're our friends from the future, the great podcasters. Hello to everybody out there.
Maybe we're your friends from the past.
David doesn't do his hello thing anymore at the beginning of his broadcast. I'm going to have to ask him why. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
He used to, he said because it helped him, like, picture his audience or something along those lines. I don't want to speak for him, but he would pick one person in the audience and say hello as if he was saying hello to them. I thought it was an interesting concept, but he hasn't been doing it this year. I'll have to ask him.
He's gotten better at his job, or maybe he's gotten worse.
That's automatically where
something
your mind
has
goes.
changed.
Maybe he started a new bid. I don't know.
Yeah.
David's like, this is going so poorly. I got to ditch
So
something.
you got to change something.
That doesn't sound like David.
Nope. Well, changing something, yes. He's always adding something.
No, but not because he thinks it's going so poorly.
Correct.
Well, I guess that could happen too. You know, you nothing wrong with a swing and a miss every now and again.
Yeah.
But that used to be his staple. Hello. How are you? Kind of like Nance's hello friends, but I always thought that was kind of overrated.
Yeah.
But you know what? If you can carve out the Masters as your own, and so you get to go there every year, I mean, good on you, I guess.
And the fact that you know that he did it means it probably worked. The fact that you know that that's how Jim Nance opened the Masters every year, he's done something right.
Ben, how did the Jazz lose the unlosable game?
I don't know. I honestly
want to know. You told me it was not possible for the Jazz to lose to the Wizards. Yet they found themselves down 37 points.
Yeah, they were down 60-30 at one point, and it got worse, and then it got weirdly better. And you saw, I think, the reasoning last night of why I thought that game was unlosable, because Blake Hinson came in for 11 minutes and scored 21 points and turned that 37-point deficit into a 13-point deficit with 6 minutes to go. And had the Jazz not pulled Blake Hinson out of the game, they would have won.
Oh, I don't think so. I don't think they would have won. 13 down with 6 minutes to
They
go.
were down, 25 to start the fourth quarter?
That's exactly why you get down 25. And by the way, though, even though the Wizards' 10-day guys stopped playing in the fourth quarter because they were up 37 points.
But no, it was...
that was the Jazz definitely lost the unlosable game. The Jazz lost that game in the second quarter. They were down 30 points at half.
Yeah.
It was cute that Blake hit some shots in the fourth quarter. And by the way, good for him, because he needs to do that to stay in the league. But at no point were they going to win that game in the fourth quarter.
Well, they pulled him because they were worried they were going to. And regardless, that was a huge loss for the Jazz. That was one that, you know, you look at the rest of the season with 9 games left to play, and according to the strength of schedule remaining, the average win percentage of your opponents still on your schedule, the Jazz do have the toughest pathway before the end of the season. So outside of a game against Memphis, the second last game of the year, and then we'll see what happens with that Lakers game. We'll see if the Lakers have locked up their playoff spot or their positioning. I'm not sure they will have. There's a chance that game could very well be winnable as well, which if the Jazz picked up 2 late wins, that could still alter their lottery odds. But it relies on a few things, including Dallas not winning another game this season, which I'm not sure if that's realistic.
Yeah, and, we don't know what happens with injuries and all that sort of thing, but I don't know. I am tired of it, so I'm certainly not going to get focused on the wins and losses of Dallas for slim percentage chances of whatever.
Yeah.
They've done enough. They're in position. Let the chips fall where they may.
Yeah, worst case scenario. And honestly, I mean, truly probably worst case scenario is they finish with a equal record to the Mavericks, in which case you just split up the lottery balls. So you're not even talking about jumping from right now the Jazz, if the season ended today, the Jazz would have a 99.4% chance of holding on to their pick. I mean, less than a 1% chance of losing it, about 1 in 175 odds of losing the pick. If they tie Dallas, they divvy up the lottery balls, so the Jazz would have a 1 in 50 chance of losing it, which is more than 1 in 175, but you're still talking about 2%.
You know what that is, Ben? Worth losing sleep over.
Correct. Worth
It
panicking over.
It is worth losing sleep over. It is. It's definitely. You coming along more with my theory that there was a gentleman's agreement with the Wizards?
I was thinking about it all last night, of course, watching the game that, you had speculated that the Jazz and Wizards were going to say, out of respect for our fans, the NBA, everyone keeping an eye on tanking, let's exchange wins. You pick up one, we pick up one. Basically a net zero game.
We're good to go.
Yeah, we're all good to go. So the Jazz go and win in Washington, and people say, wow, road win.
In an uncompetitive game, as if one team were trying and one team were not.
And then Washington comes back and returns the favor in a game the Jazz needed to lose. The Jazz win that game, and all of a sudden they are only one win back of Dallas, and Dallas probably starts thinking, if we really tank the rest of the way, maybe the Jazz will overtake us. So I was thinking about it. Do I think that happened? No, I don't. I've talked to enough people that I don't think that's real, though not like they would tell me if it was. But, it worked out.
Listen here, Ben. You know how agreements work in the mob.
Uh-huh.
You hear them talking. You never say directly anything.
Correct.
Now, you may be implying certain things and understandings. You come away with those, and things happen. You know what you don't do? Tell reporters that you did it.
Lay it out. Yeah.
Pull Ben aside at the game and say, hey, Ben, guess what?
Don't worry about this one.
I called Ted Leonidas.
Yeah.
And I said, hey, Ted, wink, wink, good luck tonight, wink, wink. Would you please run to KSL Sports with that? And
Say it up there.
And let everybody know.
We had a non-gentleman's gentleman's agreement.
As soon as possible. So with no due respect to the fine people you've talked to.
Yeah.
That does not sway me.
No.
And my confidence that an agreement somehow was made. 2 years in a row now, they split with the Wizards late in the season.
I think the Jazz put out the worse roster, and also had a particularly bad game. I mean, they also just played very, very poorly. Ace was not good last night. Cody was not good. His numbers looked fine at the end, but he was not particularly good to start the game. No one could make a layup. It was bad.
Except Ace had like 4 dunks that are like rip your face off.
He did.
At least he put on a show.
No, and he's getting better driving to the paint. Like that's one of the big things for him going forward. Is one of his biggest knocks a year ago at this point when he was still at Rutgers, which was the shot making's cool, but do you care about getting to the rim? And now he's showing, I can get to the rim, and that's again, the losses are sadly probably the most important thing for the Jazz at this point in the year. You want to lose as much as possible. But the other big thing is the development of Ace Bailey, whatever you can believe in over these final 9 games, and his willingness to get to the rim and realize that, hey, I get a little endorphin rush when I dunk on somebody and the entire crowd goes nuts. That makes me feel good. I should do that more often.
Well, my theory is that they switched out his contact lenses before the game.
Okay. Because the shooting was gone.
The shooting wasn't there, so I think maybe they just switched out one. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Like... Hey, we really got to lose this one. So
close one eye and launch it.
Here we go. We're gonna swap
you're
out.
A little blurry there.
It's like the only shot I can make is a dunk tonight. For some reason, I got to be right on top of the rim to succeed. I mean, it would be a pretty savvy
Ace sitting in the optometrist chair. Better or worse?
Pretty
Better
savvy.
or worse? You keep making it worse.
Can I ask
Go
you
with
this?
those.
Is rebounding genetic?
I do think there is a natural instinct to it. I think there is more nature over nurture.
Because both Julian and his sister Angel Reese are both fine rebounders.
Juju Reese can play. That's a good that dude is doing exactly what you should be, which is an undrafted player who went to Maryland. Yes, he's what's her name? Angel Reese's brother. Excuse me, and he's auditioning for 29 other teams right now. Maybe he just sticks with the Wizards, but he's playing very well.
There is no reason that Dennis Rodman should be the greatest rebounder of all time. He was never the biggest or most athletic or whatever, but the dude was just incredible. There's got to be some sort of, I don't know, genetics, sixth sense, whatever you want. That's got to be a component in rebounding in something in life where you wouldn't think it would be a component. Does that make any sense? Maybe it's like somebody who's just automatically good at geometry. Maybe you just see it.
Yeah, I think there is something about just kind of having a natural feel for the angle of the court.
Paul Millsap is 5'10". He should never have led any league in rebounding, let alone the entire country in college. Seriously, Paul Millsap was legit like 6'5", and was a rebounding monster.
Yeah.
Got to be something to that, right?
Yep.
But I don't know. I'm not going to judge Juju Reese on last night, honestly, as much as he did rebound the ball quite well. He was the biggest player on the floor by a mile.
He was. And the big thing is that the Jazz were guarding with Cody.
Did not field a serious team. They did not field a center at all.
Well, Oscar played, but Oscar is 6'7".
And Oscar only played 17 minutes, too.
Yeah.
I mean, if Oscar were truly playing the big, he would have played more. By the way, shout out to Oscar, who had 8 rebounds in those 17 minutes, to our point.
It is funny, and we have seen this. We've talked about this. John Amici is maybe the most famous example of this, but teams are suckered by the players that they play against that have good games. The Jazz did it with Devin Brown as well. Devin Brown came in Delta Center and had a big game, and the Jazz were like, well, we should sign him, and he ended up being terrible. Julian Reese, his 2 best games of the season by a enormous amount have come against the Jazz. Now, he's only played 6 career NBA games. If he only played against the Jazz, he would be averaging 23 points and 18 and a half rebounds.
Exactly why none of this is real.
But his other games, while he still has good rebounding stats, he is not putting up those scoring numbers. So he has had 2 very good games against the Jazz, has played well when he's been on the floor consistently. But yes, it's like if last night the Wizards were like, you know who's going to be our starting small forward next year? It's Blake Hinson. That dude does not miss. It's like, well, he was actually very good last night, but no, judging one player's entire future off of one game like that is deceptive.
Like that.
Like that?
Did you happen to see the points in the paint numbers?
I did at halftime because the Wizards had 40 points in the paint at halftime, which is, a lot for a game.
They had, let's see here, points in the paint. They had 70.
Yeah.
But the Jazz also had 72.
Well, the Jazz couldn't score anywhere else.
But yeah, that tells you everything you need to know about both teams, in my opinion.
Yeah. No defense.
It was a layup line. Yeah, absolutely. And so if Ace Bailey had a bad shooting game, I'm going with the contact lens theory because it wasn't the defense, I assure you. Although nobody from the Jazz shot the ball well from 3 outside of Hinson, who is quickly becoming my favorite interview on the team, by the way.
He's very energetic.
Yeah, he's very good.
And he can really shoot. He's got a real chance to be a part of the roster next year. Now, he's probably just going to be on a 2-way, but he's done enough to put himself in that conversation.
He was 4 of 5 from 3. The team as a whole was 7 of 29, so that should probably tell you.
So the rest of the team was 3 of 22, 3 of 24.
Everything you need to know. Your guy Kennedy Chandler was 1 for 6. Ace was 1 for 6. Cody, who otherwise had a good game, was 0 for 3.
Yeah. Elijah 1 of 4. No, it was the Jazz played bad in addition to fielding their not the most talented roster they could. They also played poorly. The guys who did play did not play well.
I do like it that Cody felt comfortable enough to get up 20 shots. And I know that kind of sounds weird, comfortable enough, but I think part of this season is about him asserting that he belongs. Mm-hmm. Because I think it was a setback for him in his rookie year.
Big time.
And so for him to come out and say, no, guys, I'm going to get up 20. I'm going to go out there and get up 20 tonight, I think is actually a really positive thing. No way he shoots 20 shots in any game the Jazz are trying next year.
No, I mean, he's at best the 10th guy probably on the roster.
But if he's coming off the bench, go be aggressive and get some shots up.
And with injuries and with his progression and the fact that his body's going to get better physically, Cody, like I said, I think probably starts the year next season as the 10th guy in the rotation, maybe 11th, which means you're out of the rotation, basically. Maybe 10, you're the very last player. But Ace is going to miss games, and Lowry's going to miss games, and whoever is in front of him, the rookie that they draft, is going to miss games. And Cody's going to have to step in and play. He's going to have to be ready. And I do think to that point, his willingness to just say, hey, I do belong here. This is not me questioning if I belong on the floor when I do get those opportunities. That will be a positive for both him and the Utah Jazz.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, I like that he guards, and that automatically helps get you up the roster if you're a bench player. Yeah. So we'll see how that goes.
And you got to have real size, and he's going to have real size. I really think he's going to add a lot of weight. So, no,
but he has the advantage though that he's under contract.
He's under contract.
So he's going to be back next year.
He was still a lottery pick, unless they trade him. I think there's a very realistic chance he comes back, and I don't know who's trading for Cody Williams. Cody has more value to the Jazz right now than some other team. He's not even a guy you go and take a flyer on at this point because of what he's done late in the season. I don't think anyone's really buying his production. But the Jazz probably have some internal sense of like, hey, this is something he's doing a lot better than he was a few months ago. And if, yes, we think his body can get to X, Y, and Z points, then maybe we can find a way to use him.
14 rebounds for the Conch.
Yeah, 5 assists, 3 blocks.
Which I'm trying, Conch seems like a natural nickname, but the Conch reminds me of Lord of the Flies. Even though I pronounce that conch,
Conch show.
most people say Conch, or at least that I've discovered.
How do you pronounce it?
It makes it feel like literary almost.
Okay.
And you think he's going to be back next year?
So he's also under contract.
I feel like the Conch. We need to see if we can work that in.
It is conch.
Well, then it's not as good.
Like C-O-N-C, conch, or K-O-N-K.
Because I remember when we were reading that book in whatever grade, everybody would stand up and say Conch. I always thought it was conch.
Christian, the role of the conch shell in Lord of the Flies is if you have it, you have the power. It represents authority on the island.
It starts out as just a take-turn speaking thing, right?
Yeah.
And it ends up being something different.
Something you prize. It's the representation of money.
Well, then I don't know if old Conch can live up to that nickname, so maybe it's a bad idea. That sets a high bar.
You ever own one?
A conch shell?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think my parents had seashells in the house, other than like little ones.
Oh, we had one on our bookshelf. Or
everyone in
whatever.
the 90s for some reason did, but
We had one, sure.
yeah.
And then we found some starfish one year at the beach, and
Oh yeah, well you guys do have
a
a beach culture
kind of
connection.
thing.
My parents don't have that, so that makes sense.
All right, our buddy Nick Olczyk is going to join the show coming up next. We're going to talk a little Mammoth hockey as they try to keep that train on the tracks headed for the number 1 seed.
Yeah.
Can they do it against Ovechkin tonight? Old man Ovechkin.
He is old. He looks old.
He does.
He does look like an old hockey player.
He does look old. All right, we'll do that coming up next. Stay tuned. Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
These guys have got you covered.
Time to eat, fellas.
You're locked on to Jake Scott and Ben Anderson
1, 2, 3, move it.
on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Join Scotty G live this Friday from noon to 3 at the Grill with hanging out with the folks at Bar WB, 2264 South Main Street in Nephi. Ben, I'm telling you, it's all about branding. Ben and I were talking off the air, and I think Will Hardy should kick the tires on switching to Bill.
Because
Because
his current win-loss record is not pretty.
it's rough. Will has lost a lot of games over
But-
the last 4 years.
He moves to Bill Hardy,
Bill's undefeated.
totally different guy.
Totally different dude. Similar to when Mike Malone disappeared during the pandemic and came back with hair and said, "Call me Michael."
Correct.
And then all of a
He won a
sudden,
title.
he's a championship coach. Yeah, that's what I'm getting at. Like fresh start. Figure out a way. And Will's hair looks fine, so he can't go away and magically come back with hair. I don't know if he wants to go glasses or something.
Yeah,
but
glasses is a good idea.
Maybe
Bill with glasses.
Maybe an earring, like a little different look.
Huh. Suits on the sideline?
Yeah, something.
Yeah.
And then he's like, "It's Bill now, guys."
Yeah, it's the kid who comes back for his sophomore year of college, and you're like,
Who's that guy?
no, you were the drunkest guy I've ever seen in my life. You were the frat dude who didn't stop. You never went to school, just partied the whole time. And you come back and you're Bill? Where's Will?
And now you're day trading.
Where's cool Will?
Now it's Bill.
Okay, it's Bill.
I think he should kick the tires on it. I think he's got to go with maybe the name and maybe the look too.
All right. It's not a bad idea.
And then all of a sudden he comes back and he's like, "I'm super serial, guys. We're going to go win some basketball games." You know what I mean?
Really thick glasses.
Fine. Although I'm not wild about that. Like Jalen Rose's glasses I find distracting.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Quinn
Quinn's
Snyder.
whole look is distracting.
Well, he reimagined himself a little bit. For a while, you remember he was going with the vest. He's going with the bomber vest, which is crazy.
I don't want to know what's going on with that guy. You know what I mean?
And now he's Sally Jesse Raphael red glasses.
Yeah, I don't want, and the tapered pants, which I always found weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, you're not going to find Andre Tourney in some tapered pants. You know what I'm getting at?
Yeah.
All right, let's talk some Mammoth hockey. Joining us now from the Mammoth broadcast, and he's kind enough to jump on our show once a week. He's our buddy Nick Olczyk. Hello, Nick.
Jake and Ben, great to be with you boys, and looking forward to a big day and a much-needed win tonight against Alexander Ovechkin and the Washington Capitals.
I feel like we can officially call the Mammoth a Utah team because with, 10 games left to go, a couple of weeks left in the season, we know it's not going to be easy, and that's just the standard rule of thumb. If you've grown up in Utah and you've watched the Jazz or you've watched BYU or if you watched Utah, it's just never easy, and the Mammoth now have a very difficult path the rest of the way. There's not going to be any easy nights of rest for fans, and that starts tonight against Washington.
Yeah, exactly right. And I think when you look at last game, especially against the Edmonton Oilers, it's not just an important game and important games moving forward for the boys that wear mountain blue. It's also vital games for the oppositions, too. The Edmonton Oilers trying to improve their position in the Pacific. And a team like the Washington Capitals, who they're taking on tonight, Washington, they're fighting for their playoff lives as well. They've only got 10 games left, and they're currently sitting 6 points out of a playoff position in the East wild card, which is just an absolute dogfight out in the East as it is here in the West. So I think these are the times of the year where you got to rely on your top players, of course, the guys that get paid the big bucks, the guys that have gotten you to this point and have put you in the first wild card spot, but also the leaders and the guys that have played at the most important time of the year. When you look at a guy like Ian Cole, who's won 2 Stanley Cups, Mikhail Sergachev, 2 Stanley Cups as well. So I think those are the kind of guys that'll help get you through it and hopefully clinch the first playoff berth in Utah history and the NHL here in this great state. But it's going to take a lot. You still got enough games left to be able to make some hay and try to improve their position in the playoffs, boys. But right now they're currently 6 points from being outside the cut line, and another huge 2 points tonight.
All right, so let's quantify that a little bit, Nick. The Mammoth sit at 80 points right now. They are 3 clear of Nashville, who's in the second wild card slot, and then another 6 clear of the Kings, who are on the outside looking in. So what kind of clip are we talking about that they need to close with here?
Yeah, I would say in the final 10, I think the number is probably going to be 93 to 95. So you're looking at needing to find a way to get another 12, 13, 14, 15 points from the final 10 games of a possible 20 points. I mean, Nashville is absolutely surging right now. I mean, it's got 5 wins in a row, 7 wins in their last 10. But, the good news is that the teams just below them on the outside looking in, like L.A., they've only got 3 wins in their last 10 games. The Seattle Kraken have really hit a tough stretch here where they've only got 2 wins in their last 10 games. San Jose has just completely fallen off. I thought that was a team that had as good of a chance as anybody to be able to make it, considering the season that Macklin Celebrini has had. But they've really now all of a sudden got a long distance to go if they want to try to sneak into a wild card position, having lost 5 in a row. But to answer the question, I think with 80 points right now, I think if the Mammoth can get to 93 or 94, maybe 95, I think that would be a very comfortable number for them to be able to cement the playoff position. And for those of our newer hockey fans, how it works is if you're in the top wild card position, you get the lesser of the 2 teams that have won the division, the Pacific or the Central. So right now, if the playoffs started today, the Colorado Avalanche, 104 points. That's the most in the West. Utah would take on the Pacific Division winners, which right now would be the Anaheim Ducks. So it'll be very interesting to see how everything shakes out in terms of the playoff matchups. But if they can get 6 wins, 7 wins in the final 10 games, that should be enough to be able to get them into the postseason.
Last year, late in the season, we saw Vejmelka play a ton of games in a row as they were trying to make the push. What other types of things might we see, adjustments might we see with only a couple of weeks left to try and give the Mammoth the best chance to make the postseason?
I think it's a terrific question because sometimes you got to play the way that got you here. And I wouldn't expect any major adjustments, to be honest, boys. I think, the Neil Booth was called up, and so he's out on the ice right now at Morning State. Will he be playing in the lineup tonight? We'll have to have to wait and see. And so I think as far as personnel goes, barring injuries, Barrett Hayton left last game. It didn't look great. We're still waiting confirmation to see what the timetable is, if he's going to play, if he's not going to play. So I think as far as adjustments goes, that'll probably just be the players going in and out of the lineup. But systematically, this team has put themselves in a great spot because of how they played for the vast majority of the season. And so, yes, I would expect Terrell Vejmelka to get the bulk of the starts here in the final 10 games. It wasn't his best game coming off a performance against the Edmonton Oilers where he was pulled after 2 periods. So we'll see how things shake out, of course. But I'm really not expecting any sort of big tactical changes or adjustments in that way because this team has had a really very, very solid season so far. And so continue to play the way that got them here. But it's always going to take a little bit more, a little bit extra, especially considering the rink always seems to shrink this time of the season.
There is, of course, more of the story yet to be written, but how do you think Coach Torney has done this season so far?
He's just actually coming off his coaching his 400th game in the National Hockey League, and look, I think he is the perfect coach for where this group is at right now. Focused on development, focused on details, focused on teaching, but all of that wrapped up in the guise of accountability and sticking to these certain non-negotiables of playing defense, the non-negotiables of sticking within the structure. And, yeah, there's going to be some guys, the top offensive guys, that have a leash and then they're able to go off on their own path and off on their own tangent from time to time because, well, they're some of the best offensive players in the league when you think about guys like Schmaltz and Cooley and Gunther and Keller. But I think overall Andre Tourigny has done a spectacular job. And, boys, if you look at Tourigny's numbers over the last bunch of years, it has continually been progress in every statistic, in every team number, whether it be offense or on the defensive side. His teams have always gotten better. And I think the other great part, too, is he knows these players so well by now that he knows the right buttons to push. He knows the certain guys that he can get on. He knows the other guys that maybe need a pat on the back. Other guys need a kick in the rear. So I think he's got a really good feel and a great grip on what works and what doesn't work for this team right now. But I think he has done an excellent job last year and, of course, into this year to put these guys in the best position possible. And look, as a coach, you're there to set the foundation. You're there to let everybody know what the blueprint is. But at the end of the day, it's up to the guys that have the sticks in their hands and the skates on their feet to go out and make something happen. And so I think you give a lot of kudos to the coaching staff and these players for having given the great state of Utah a team to be very excited about this time of the year, of course, but also a team to be really proud of because every time they go on the ice, whether it's away from the Delta Center or here in downtown Salt Lake City, the way that they play for the majority of games, it's an exciting brand of hockey filled with a whole lot of work ethic, which is exactly what you would want.
Nick, we've now seen Michael Hrabel and Caleb Denway sign their early-level contracts or their entry-level contracts in the NHL. Does this mean we're going to see them with the Roadrunners next year? And then what does it mean for their actual NHL future? How quickly might we see them with the Mammoth?
Yeah, that is what you would think the timeline is going to be. And the National Hockey League owners, as well as the Players Association, they're right now trying to do some work on the collective bargaining agreement, which was agreed upon last year, to allow multiple 19-year-old prospects to play in the American Hockey League. Because right now you need to be 20 in order to play in the AHL. And so for a lot of those 18 turning 19 years old and 19-year-old players, pretty much the only opportunity they have to develop at the highest level that they can right now is either major junior or going to college and going the NCAA route. So I'm really looking forward to seeing that hopefully that those terms will be agreed upon in the CBA. And I think that will lead to a lot more players at the 19-year-old range to to go and develop playing professional hockey and being closer in terms of the development to their NHL team, and a lot of skill work and a lot of skills coaching and development coaching happens in the American Hockey League level. That's the level where it's about development. It's trying to get these players better. And oftentimes, the vast majority of times, the American Hockey League teams will play very similar, if not the same exact structure to what the NHL club will play as well. So when these guys do eventually play in the big leagues, is that they're not going to be shocked and playing a completely different way. So, yeah, I would expect both of those guys to be playing for the Tucson Roadrunners next year. And in terms of Michael Raubel, what an unbelievable season he had playing for the UMass Minutemen. He could have signed last year, but everybody agreed that an extra year of college was the best route. And look what he did. I mean, he put up legendary numbers for UMass. He was the Hockey East Player of the Year, the Hockey East Goaltender of the Year, and he's a finalist for the best goalie in the entire NCAA with some unbelievable numbers. And so he's been great on the ice, but boys, he completed his degree in 3 years. So just as successful and performative in the classroom as well. So it's great to see both of those guys, him and Caleb Denoyer, signed, who was last year's 4th overall pick in the draft. And it's safe to say that from the goaltender position on out, the Mammoths are in good hands for a long time to come.
I might want a dummy in goal. I might want an idiot, a guy who's just willing to take pucks off the face. Do I want a genius there?
Hey, if you need any problem solved or anybody to help you through some issues, I'll take my guy who finished his degree in 3 years. But I've met some strange goalies. I've met some very smart goalies. But it's safe to say that goalies are not normal, because most normal people don't want to take 100-mile-an-hour shots sometimes off the cranium. But that's why they're some of the best people, because those guys are always team-focused and team-centric.
Nick, thanks as always. Enjoy the game tonight.
All right, boys. Always a pleasure, and we'll talk to you next week.
Thanks, Nick.
That's our buddy Nick Olczyk, part of the Utah Mammoth broadcast.
Huge game tonight.
What do you say, 92 to 95?
Yeah.
That's the number to keep an eye on?
I think 95 means they get all but 3 points. So that would be...
Well, he said there's 20 left.
There's 20 left. Yeah, 10 games, 2 points each.
So
you get 15 more.
Right.
That'd be quite the tear.
They'd be sitting there on...
Yeah. And they'd have a ton of momentum going in.
First wild card. So that Nick is setting a high bar.
Got to get the first 2.
But that was the point. I get to know how this season closes out in a playoff race, and I think it's important to know exactly what's on the line. You can't dump one at home against the Caps, for example.
You're not going to back into the playoffs, simply put, and you shouldn't. And that's why they need to come out there and play the way they have all season.
All right, 92 to 95 ought to get it done, according to our guy Nick Olczyk. Something to keep an eye on. All right, stay tuned. We will have more Jacob Ben coming up next. We still have the Sweet 16 to talk about as that gets underway. So this is, what did Mike tell us yesterday? This is his favorite weekend of basketball.
Yeah, these next 2 days specifically.
All right, we'll talk about it coming up. Stay tuned. Jacob Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Your home for the best sports coverage in Utah. You're listening to Jake Scott and Ben Anderson on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Join Scotty G from noon to 3 at Tim Daly Nissan. Southtown coming up today, 11155 South Jordan Gateway in South Jordan. Tim Daly, home of the Forever Warranty. We all know it was a big day yesterday because I was part of the I don't know, what do you want to call it, the coaching announcement video?
Celebration.
The celebration video for the University of Cincinnati hiring Jerrod Calhoun away from Utah State. And Calhoun had his opening press conference, and he did talk about Utah State. Ben, and it caught your ear. Let's play those comments.
So Utah State is a top 30 job in America. It truly is. It's a place that has an incredible student body, 3,800 students every night. The players that are there will have to decide that. But I can tell you this, when we got the 9 seed, after winning 28 games in a regular season title and a tournament title, that was pretty telling. You know, and I think the game has changed. I think college basketball has changed forever. We don't have one team outside of Iowa, which is a 9 seed, and they're a Big Ten school, right, in the Sweet 16. So I think...
I think that, I love that Jerrod Calhoun repeatedly says the quiet part out loud. He did at Utah State when he was talking about, the school not giving them any money to win with on the floor. I think our conversation that we've had throughout the last week, and certainly this week a lot, is you can win at Utah State, which is absolutely true. You can win regular season games. You can win conference tournament games. If the NCAA doesn't let you win beyond that, I don't know if it matters. And that's a new wrinkle of why Utah State might not be the same springboard job it used to be.
Not that, the NCAA needs defending, but the NCAA seems to catch a lot of heat for something that they have no control over. And they kind of have control over the selection committee, but the way it's done.
Okay, when I say NCAA, I'll say selection committee.
I think it's actually an important distinction to make because we envision selection committees, Ben, as this altruistic group of people who are going to get into a room and define, almost like Moses coming down off the mount with the 10 Commandments. Like, this is the bracket for the NCAA tournament because you were evaluated as a 6th seed, therefore thou art. Or something along those lines. But really what it is a bunch of self-interested people in the same room at the same time. And whether or not they know it, they are biased. And so how does that room get weighted? And let me tell you, it gets weighted toward the conferences that make the hay. You want to talk about weighted toward blue bloods? Well, this is weighted toward that too. So what Calhoun said to me, or screamed to me, was they're just going to screw over the smaller leagues, and they're going to do it on purpose. That was the point of expanding the field in the first place, is to get more of those leagues, teams in. The tournament has quite literally never been bigger. The Mountain West Conference has never been a single bid league. Never.
Right.
And I don't know, you can get your analytic nerd hat on and tell me how crappy the Mountain West Conference was this year. It was not that bad.
No, of course not.
It was not.
Nor was the SEC as good as people thought.
And so to Calhoun's point, to win the league and win the tournament and be in the top 25 at points during the season, and to be given a 9 seed where you get a buzzsaw in the second round is just ridiculous. So was Utah State a second round team? Ho hum. That's how they'll go down in history. But what happens if they get bumped up one and get a more winnable game in the second round and all that stuff? And I agree with Jerrod Calhoun. I think they do that crap on purpose, and it bugs me. And then people just go, well, it was fair. They're a 9 seed.
Yeah.
Look up the Ken Palm and justify that they're not a 9 seed. Right. It's like, come on.
Yeah.
Let's just cover for what they want to do. They want to spread the money with as few conferences as possible. Because keep in mind that the leagues as a whole are splitting up these units. Now, I believe, depending on your league, you do get more of a share of the unit if you yourself do earn it. But make no mistake that those units that you get for advancing rounds in the NCAA tournament get split amongst everybody. So if the SEC gets more teams in, that's more money for everybody.
Yeah.
If they win more rounds, that's more money for everybody. More Sweet 16s, more Final Fours, more all of that. So if you're telling me that athletic directors are going into a room of people filling out a bracket, that they're not going to keep that in mind?
That's insane.
Of course they. Oh, can you imagine? I don't know. Who do we want to put? Who's an athletic director? Well, whatever. It doesn't matter. Can you imagine a big-time athletic director from the Big Ten going into that room? And they go, oh, we're kind of debating. Should we put in 7 Big Ten teams or 8? If we do 7, we'll give the Mountain West another bid.
Yeah.
They'll get the second. Do you think that Big Ten athletic director is going to go, you're damn right, San Diego State had
really
a big
glad you
year.
said that. I'm really glad you're standing up for UNLV or, whoever.
Those Aztecs were plucky this year. I agree with you. You know what? I'll sacrifice the extra 1% to 2% that I'm going to get into my budget because those Aztecs are just awesome. It doesn't happen.
No, it does not. And
the voice of those leagues in the room and those teams, is becoming smaller and smaller with each squeeze in both football and basketball.
So I understand Jerrod Calhoun's move, not just to be closer to home, but because the deck continues to be stacked against these teams like Utah State, even if they go to the Pac-12 more and more and more every year. So it becomes a no-brainer, unfortunately, which stinks because it is better when Utah State is good. College basketball, in my opinion, is more fun when we do have those types of stories, but the people who write the story don't want it. And the people who write the story are exactly who you're talking about, who are sitting behind the scenes under the guise of being a selection committee, which sounds like it has some official, unbiased nature, and it doesn't.
And it does not.
Just simply put. So that stinks.
And they've tried a million different ways in football to figure out how to, get it right, I guess, computers, and everybody complains about everything. I mean, there is no way to get it right. But a computer certainly is far less biased than a self-interested athletic director or administrator or coach, for crying out loud.
Yeah, no one's threatening the computer to unplug it if it gets the wrong answer. It doesn't know that. Tonight's games, Texas at Purdue. Well, Texas is the 11 seed, Purdue the 2 seed. Iowa, Nebraska, and then two great games late. Arkansas, Arizona, very interesting. Maybe Darius Acuff's the best player in the tournament right now. He has a chance to put on a really special run.
He's very small.
Really small, but scores 1,000 points and is basically unstoppable. We'll see if Arizona's defense can stop him. And then another great game, Illinois, Houston. So, some good games tonight.
Go Cougs.
Okay.
I like Kelvin Sampson.
Yeah, I like Kelvin Sampson too.
Stay tuned. Morgan Scally, in my opinion, missed out on a big opportunity. We will get to that next. 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone.